My name is Summer Caps. I just was placed out here with DEA in Knoxville back in February. I'll be out here at least for the next 5 years. Prior to getting on as a diversion investigator with DEA, I worked for the Bureau of Prisons in Texas at the maximum security, and then in Butner at FCC Butner, where Bernie Madoff, Tiger King, all of those crazy characters, R. Kelly. He was the last one there before I left. Before that, I was in law enforcement in Houston, originally from North Carolina. I've enjoyed my time out here in Knoxville. Worked with some good people like Carl with a lot of experience who kind of showed me the ropes with DEA. Today, we're just going to go over kind of what we do as diversion investigators. Everyone kind of looks at DEA and thinks about knocking down doors, chasing the bad guys. We're kind of behind the scenes doing all the investigating. Not so much hands-on with the criminals, more hands-on with your controlled drugs. When I say control, I'm talking about anything from your Schedule 2 to Schedule 5. So your marijuana, that's not what we investigate. We look more into your Oxycontin, your fentanyl, xylazine now is a big thing. So we'll go over some trends, and then I'll leave like the last 5 minutes. If you have any questions for us, we'll answer what we can. So I have to show this. Everything we're showing you is published to the DEA. It's not intended for anyone to copy. This is the government. Y'all know how that is. It's all educational. So the government's real big on their privacy and not being copied. All right, so who are we? So just to give you a background, there's over 10,000 employees in the DEA. Diversion investigators, though, there's only 800 of us. We're responsible for, in this area, there's 4 of us, we're responsible for 17,000 registrants for 4 people. Now there's 2.1 million registrants in the world and only 800 diversion investigators, so you can see that our workload is crazy. We got our workload, then we have our tips coming in, then you might have a bad doctor down the road that we got to go check on, or a pharmacy that's doing things you're not supposed to do. So we're constantly busy. We cover anywhere from east of Nashville all the way up to Johnson City, all the way down to Chattanooga, all the way to the North Carolina line. So that's what we're responsible for here in East Tennessee. But you can see we're everywhere all over the world. And then you can see, I know it's so small, but in Tennessee, we have a couple offices. Our main offices are Memphis, Nashville, and then here in Knoxville. But we also have a Chattanooga office, a Johnson City office. So we're kind of everywhere here in Tennessee. And that kind of breaks down our division. Our division consists of Kentucky, out of our Louisville division office, West Virginia, and then here in Tennessee. So you have the law enforcement side that everybody sees. It's glorified all over TV. It's not hard to find them. They're all, they work here in downtown Knoxville. They work with Knox County. They work with out of Maryville. They work with Oak Ridge PD, Knoxville PD. So we even have a state trooper that works in our office with the task force with DEA Knoxville. But then you have our diversion investigators, which is what Carl and I work. We also have our intel. They assist us in all of our investigations. A lot of them get on like the dark web and all the things that we don't do. And we have our outreach. We're constantly going and doing presentations, going to schools. We help out with a lot out of Loudoun County. We do a lot of family summits for families that have lost family members due to fentanyl overdoses. So we can go over some prescription drugs. So these are your popular drugs that are misused. You got your oxycodone, your amphetamines, your Adderall, hydrocodone, all of that Xanax, anything you can think of that somebody could abuse. These are highly abused drugs. That's why they are controlled by the government. So I know a lot of people are aware of all the fake drugs going around, especially if you have kids. It's kind of important. I like this part of the slide. So we'll go to places and they'll have, it's just basically pill mills. They're just making pills and they're pumping them full of fentanyl. Fentanyl's a little bit cheaper to produce. It's easier to get. It's way cheaper to cut your drug with it compared to if you were selling cocaine. So that's why they use fentanyl. These drug dealers are making a killing right now off of fentanyl, and now we'll go over it a little bit, but it's called xylazine. These are your pill presses. This is not in like your pharmaceutical plants. This is in like houses and garages and barns. And they're set up outside. And this is how the drug dealers are making their fake pills full of fentanyl. So you can imagine, I mean, there was a case that we went over a couple months ago that, there was a lady who had passed away of a fentanyl overdose, and they were able to track a drug dealer. And when the DEA went in there, he was, cutting it in a blender. So he would take the drugs and put it in a blender, and that's how he would cut his drugs. And he was like, I don't understand how she died of an overdose. Well, you're making your drugs out of a blender. So, these are not, these are not educated pharmacists. They're just people off the street making these drugs and selling them to our family members, and in return our family members are passing away. So this is a field press out of, it was like a garage. Yep. So from our Google, all basically they had dedications in Miami. And this is what was going on. They were pumping thousands and thousands of pills per hour out of this little warehouse. It was disgusting in there. It was nasty. Definitely not clean, not up to your standards that you would hold your pharmaceutical plants to, because these are your everyday drug dealers. So these are the most common fake pills: Xanax, Adderall, OxyContin. My brother actually passed away almost a year ago in September. He thought he was taking a Xanax in the spring. He gave him after they had been out drinking all night, and it ended up being a fentanyl. But the pill looked just like that. Just like that Xanax pill right there. So I like to do this. So I don't know if all y'all in the back can see, but you got your top pill and your bottom pill. Look at it for a second and think about which one is fake and which one is real. It's kind of hard to tell. One on top is fake. And you're like, well, okay, so the one on top looks nicer. What they do when these pharmaceutical plants, when they make the pills, they make them look a little rusty, a little, have, something wrong with it. It's not perfect, and they do that so that people can't duplicate it. Right? So, but you got your drug dealers out here making these pills perfect with the pill presses, and that's how you can look and tell that it's fake. Got another one. Let's take a look at that one. Try to guess which one's real and which one's fake. The nicer one. And then the last example, that's the 20 on top, the 30 on the bottom. Top is fake. So that's just a way for you to kind of, if you have kids and you go through your kids' stuff and you see something like that, definitely want to be aware of what you're looking at. So we're going to go over fentanyl. It was developed for pain management and is highly diverted for abuse. I'm sure everybody's heard about it on the news by now. It's very dangerous, it's very potent. It's the #1 cause of drug poisoning, and it doesn't take but just a little bit. My brother only had 0.11 nanograms. A nanogram is 9 times smaller than a gram. But because he was on blood pressure medication and his alcohol level was 0.23, those three things mixed together caused him to pass away. So you can't even see the fentanyl in this, but that's how much fentanyl it would take to kill you. A couple little specks compared to the heroin. And heroin used to be the drug of choice because it was so cheap and it gave them a good high. But I was back at the academy in Quantico with DEA back in December, and I asked them, I said, well, what do you see more in here? They said, well, heroin used to be almost 100%. Heroin now is 1% of our labs, and fentanyl is like 99. So that tells you how much things have kind of swung around with fentanyl over the past couple of years. So you got your fake pills. Now they're saying that 7 out of 10 of the pills that are being tested in our labs are actually fake. They contain fentanyl. And here's another fentanyl laboratory that we went to. So you got your medical grade up here. And these are the ones that we are actually busting. So you can see that this, I'll go back. Yep. You can see how clean, how nice, how prestige. We just went to one not so long ago. What else? They didn't have, what were they producing there? At the one we went to down in Bristol. Yeah. What? Yeah. So they had pseudoephedrine there, that one. We went in, they had like a line. You had to like put on booties, you had to put on a hairnet. They weren't even producing anything, and I like stepped across the line, and the man was like, whoa, you gotta get back. Like, they're very, very particular about how everything's clean, and they're just very put together. And then when we go to places like this is where your drugs are coming from on the street. So they're not being made in a nice lab, and this is why so many people overdose and pass away. Some more things that are where kids are targeting the young adult community right now are these rainbow pills. I know when I was growing up, it was Molly. However, now these pills have fentanyl in them. When kids see that, they think, oh yeah, I'm gonna try that pill, I'm gonna take that pill. And you can see, we're just getting bags and bags of it off the street. So, and I know they've been all over the news with it lately. A lot of the fentanyl, a lot of the xylazine is coming from the cartels, and it's coming from China. They're just sending it over, they're mass producing it, sending it over on ships, and it's getting over to us on the ports. So the Mexican cartels are a huge target right now for us, for everything they're bringing over. And they're in every state. Now, Tennessee isn't highlighted dark blue. Obviously, you got your border states that are highlighted dark blue. But you can see that, we're up there with the rest of them. Used to, you could just go on the street and just get your drugs, do a cash to cash, pocket to pocket kind of encounter. But now you have teens able to get drugs off of the internet, off of social media. A lot of text messaging going on. I don't know how many people in here have teenagers? Anybody have teenagers? Young adults in college? Okay. But this is what they're doing. They're doing their drugs. They're going to talk about it on their phone. They're going to find it on Facebook. Snapchat's big right now. And I know it's hard to see, and I'm glad to go over this with y'all after the presentation. But all of this up here are like emojis. So if you go on your phone, you have the emojis. So instead of them typing in, oh, I want to, bring some cocaine, they actually have symbols for that. Same thing with marijuana, Percocets, Xanax, everything's up there. This is how kids are talking. So you can actually go on your kid's phone and you can put in that emoji and see if anything pops up. So there's a search bar in your text messages to show you that. We're also having a lot of issues on the dark web of stuff being sold, especially right now, like the testosterone. That's big on the dark web. Bitcoin, it's hard to trace it back, which is why we do have our intelligence unit helping us out. I know nothing about the dark web. They may do some classes, I still don't know anything about the dark web. But there's a lot of bad stuff going on right now. Xylazine. Right now, that it's starting to come in. It's actually way more potent than fentanyl, and it's really starting to gain a lot of momentum here in East Tennessee and on the East Coast. So that's what it'll do to you if you use it. But it's actually a veterinary medicine. It's used basically like a tranquilizer for horses, and people are using it to shoot up. It's a sedative, so you can't use Narcan to bring it back from xylazine. You can see the darker states, it's real popular up in Ohio and Pennsylvania, but that's kind of close to here, so it's starting to trickle down. You can see Virginia's a little bit darker, so now it's starting to come out this way and into our division, and that's why it's been a big thing for us to stay on top of it. You can see the top 5 causes of death by drug type. Fentanyl is just beating the game. Heroin is the light blue one, and you can see heroin has gone drastically down, and fentanyl is shooting up. In 2023, there was over 50,000 drug deaths by fentanyl. And again, you can see where the fentanyl is the blue, the heroin is the red, heroin's going down, fentanyl is going up. So this is what's personal to me because of me losing my brother. The drug overdoses here in Tennessee are outrageous. Just in 2023, just here in East Tennessee, there was between 54 and 72,000 deaths due to fentanyl. That's a lot of people. So that means for every 100,000 people, 56 people are going to die of fentanyl overdose if we don't get control of it. And I just think that I try to beat that down to let people know what's going on, especially if you have young kids. Because it's not like it used to be. You know, you can't go to the club or go to a party and take a drug down, and then if you do, your kids are putting themselves at risk of dying. And that's why our job is so important here in Tennessee as diversion investigators. We try to stay on top of the doctors, stay on top of the dentists, stay on top of the pharmacies, and try to make sure they're regulated and doing what they have to do. And if they don't, then we go further with punishing them. We've sent pharmacists to jail, we've sent doctors to jail, to prison. It's something to play with. It's not, something we take pride in. I mean, we don't go to doctors' offices to shut them down and take away their practices. But if you're not following the law and doing what you got to do, then that's where we come in and take care and do our job. So I'm gonna open it up to questions. Okay, you want to say anything, Carl, before I open up to questions?
First, I'd like to say thanks for inviting us. Summer's mentioned to you, her personal touch. Mine's similar. We don't take it lightly. Both Summer and I have had family members pass away due to drug overdoses. So this is not just simply a task that we're assigned. This is something that both Summer and I are passionate about doing when we speak on this topic, particularly overdoses. My law enforcement career here in Tennessee, unfortunately, I've had to, respond to far too many overdoses and, break that news to a family member. And that is not a particularly pleasant situation. So for those of you that do have those kids in high school or in college, I want to tell you they are absolutely a target of the drug cartels. Advise them and give them those cautionary words and tales because they are susceptible to it. They're college kids. Adderall, or it is passed around commonly in colleges for obvious reasons, energy and long hours. Studying for exams and whatnot. We've all had to do that. We've attended college, so, but high schools these days, and increasingly elementary schools, unfortunately. Summer showed you the picture of, the colored pills. Those are colored for a reason. The cartels, color them like candy. We often refer to them as Skittles, simply because Mexican cartels do that by design, they do it by purpose, and they do it for the reason of targeting children. So just be careful and be cautious when you happen to see, your children come home, with, some odd number or odd colored pills that they think might be candy. Because they are very much designing a lot of these pills these days to look like a piece of candy. And to a kid, that's all they're gonna think. They're gonna see, purple, pink, red, blue, whatever. They're gonna think it's pretty much a piece of candy. But it's not. I appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate you calling us and letting us come out. If ever there's anything that you need from the DEA here in Knoxville, feel free to reach out to us. I know that our information will be shared, contact information. Just don't hesitate to reach out to us and call us, whether it be for information or other outreach opportunities that we can participate in.
All right, any questions? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The illegal immigration situation on the border with Mexico down in Texas, is that causing a lot of problems?
Yes, sir.
All right, so he's asking about immigration and if it's affecting the drug problem right now, and I would say 100%. The government has multiple agencies outside of DEA. DEA only focuses on drugs. So if we get something, if we get a case and we find out it's like child sex trafficking or anything like that, we hand that over to Homeland Security, FBI. So there's multiple agencies on the border working, but 100% that has a lot to do with the drug problem. The cartels are getting in here and they're getting in here fast. They're getting large quantities in here right now. Yes, sir.
You showed the slide of mortality rate,
Yes,
Tennessee #2 behind West Virginia. I know in banking, we go through some extra compliance training here in East Tennessee because of this being such a drug corridor. Could you share with the club the the impact of that, with the interstate system and what you're seeing in terms of the flow of drugs through this part of the country?
I'm not from East Tennessee, so I'm gonna throw this one out. You worked drugs out here before I did.
So as I said, Tennessee's home for me. Through the course of my career, you know, I've spanned from Chattanooga to Knoxville, cases all the way up to Bristol. I-75 and 5924, those are all major corridors that the cartels use. The Mexican cartels, while down in Mexico, they like to control territories. Here in the States, those same cartels, they don't necessarily control territories, they control the routes. You know, so, you know, CNG cartel, they might have, you know, interstate systems geared more towards, you know, heading to California, up to Oregon and the Pacific coast. Whereas other cartels, you know, look towards the East Coast and the, you know, pipelines, the interstates that they use, you know, to funnel their drugs here towards the east. Those pipelines, one of the reasons that Summer mentioned earlier that one of our task force officers is a Tennessee State Trooper. Because we know those pipelines are utilized by the cartels, DEA enlists the aid of the Highway Patrol as well as other local law enforcement agencies to participate in the task force. We refer to them as TFOs. But it's for the reason that, you know, the resources they bring to the table to help us to be able to respond to and identify a lot of those sources and methods of trafficking. They don't often use airports. You know, I know back in my younger days, marijuana was the big thing, and they would literally fly it in to smaller airports and land it on small strips. These days, you know, it's just being trucked in, and it's literally trucked in. So interstates are a primary source. Yes.
I'm just curious, once the DEA takes possession of drugs, is there some sort of policy where you hold it as evidence for a certain amount of time, and then how long is that? Then how do you destroy it?
Yeah, so it's a good question. Any drugs that we seize, we take, seize, and hold it for evidence, and it is sent to one of our holding laboratories, and it's retained there for evidence. If we indict anyone, arrest anyone associated with, you know, the possession or the distribution of, you know, that particular piece of evidence, it's held on to throughout the duration of their court proceedings, and even post conviction. If that person is convicted and sent to prison, we still hold on to it for a duration, just for any appeals issues that might arise. But once it's, you know, the case is completely adjudicated and the U.S. The courts give us the okay, we'll have it destroyed. We destroy it and typically we burn it, just incinerate it. We often take currency and seize that as well. That we won't burn. We'll put back into the coffers and we use that towards, you know, our efforts. Guns are often seized as evidence. Those will be destroyed. Also, we don't put guns back out on the streets. We don't sell them to the public. So if they're used in drug trafficking or other crimes, we destroy them and just don't put them back out on the streets. Yes.
I have a couple of questions. So one of them is there China, are they getting a lot of it from China? And is it coming through the Mexican cartel and then they're coming in to the United States for purposes of money or purposes of killing Americans, or how do you feel?
Are they trying to get us addicted, or are they trying to kill us?
So first question, the fentanyl is coming from China. China produces it. China will in turn ship tankers full down to Mexico to the cartels, and the cartels will, you know, then mass produce it. They will mix it into, you know, either fake pills and bring the pills over. A lot of times they bring the fentanyl over in just bulk powder form, and then sell it on the streets and let some, you know, local that has a pill press in the garage, as Summer showed, make their own. As far as their motivation, I think it's a mixture. I think China has their objective. I think the cartels in Mexico have their objective. And neither are good or positive.
Okay, my next question is, I have heard that there are apps out there that these kids or these young adults or anyone that wants to buy drugs, they can get onto an app that's so encrypted that it's hard for some of the investigators to break into. Is that true?
There are. Most apps these days have end-to-end encryption. But the more popular apps that we hear of today, even to include TikTok communications, if they have a messenger format on their WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, they're using them all. And it's really a personal preference on the part of the dealer. If the dealer has a favorite app, that's how they tell their customers they're going to communicate by. It's not impossible for us to break into those. We'll use our investigative techniques to gain access to those communications. Sometimes during the course of their drug trafficking, a lot of times, we'll get access to it after we either seize phones or seize communications from them.
Is there something as parents that we can look out for on, our children's phones?
First and foremost, what Summer was showing on there about the different emojis. If you have kids, look through their phones and look for the various emojis that they're using. Those emojis, I'm 54 years old. What takes me a paragraph and a half to text out, they can do in 4 or 5 emojis and get the same message or point across. So look at those emojis. Kids will come up with their own form of emoji shorthand to communicate. The cartels, they are just as good and adept at utilizing, these shorthand forms of communications, code, code numbers, code patterns. They'll use all of those as well. And while you may think it's just your kid playing, with some emojis, they may be actually sending, some type of message to someone that they want a particular, drug or quantity of drugs. Yes, ma'am.
One more question.
So in the case of your family members, sorry about that, but how would that be avoided when he thought that one kind of pill, but it turned out to be a fake pill, and the good one would have killed him?
Well, you just don't know, and that's. So the question was, if you have, someone who has, gotten a pill from, someone else, and someone else may think it's an actual legitimate, prescription pill, you're not going to know the difference. And that's the problem with it. We can't tell the difference. I've been a cop for 26 years, and I can't look at a pill and tell you, just by looking at it, if that pill is a legitimate prescription pill. We don't know until we send it off to one of our labs, and that lab actually conducts an analysis on it. And that's the problem with all these fake pills on the street. Summer told you earlier that 7 out of 10 pills now, our labs are telling us are fake pills. So my recommendation, my advice to you is, if you see a pill, just assume the worst and assume it's fake. Crush it, throw it away, and don't consume it. And if you find your children with pills, and if they're not in a prescription bottle from a pharmacy, assume the same. It's a fake pill, it's a bad pill, and throw the thing away. And that's my recommendation there.
I know this is a very informative topic.